Are the Philadelphia 76ers the biggest what-if team in the NBA this season? We're going to discuss it in today's episode of Locked On NBA Game Night. Let's go.
When that final buzzer rings, you know it's time for Locked On NBA Game Night. All the post-game reactions to every game across the league, every single night, with insights only the hosts at Locked On can provide. It's the true NBA fans' one stop for all the action. Every game, every night. It's Locked On NBA Game Night. Tipping off now.
Welcome to another edition of Locked On NBA Game Night. Every game, every night. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm Jake Madison, host of the Locked On Pelicans podcast, usually on Wednesdays now, but back on Fridays. And David, excited? We've never done this together, I don't think. I'm excited.
Years of doing podcasts and never have the opportunity to talk to you via podcast. So here we are. What a great opportunity.
I know. This is off season. We got a great show for y'all. We're going to look at the Philadelphia 76ers, some injury news already for them. Are they the biggest what-if team in the NBA this season? Then we'll look at some other what-ifs. And JJ Redick, after one season, getting an extension. A little bit surprising here. Today's episode of Locked On NBA Game Night is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if your bet wins, you're going to get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. Download the FanDuel app today over at FanDuel.com. Before we even get started, David, season's like here. We got media days and everything. This is finally, the long drought is over, right?
It's amazing. I can't believe it. It does feel a lot quicker than it has in years past, despite the fact that neither of our teams, respective teams, made the playoffs or had any kind of prolonged, in Miami's case, playoff run. And yet still, here we are. I'm excited. The basketball season's here.
I know. Look, media day always gets me hyped. I kind of look at every team around the league and I'm like, oh, they can be contenders. Maybe the Philadelphia 76ers can too, right? You know, they're a big what-if team with Joel Embiid looking physically different here. If Paul George can kind of recapture that Paul George form, their team in a wide-open East that could be pretty good, except they're already suffering injuries to start the year here. And Jared McCain suffered a UCL tear in his right thumb in a workout Thursday. The team announced putting his availability, for the start of the season in question here. More things change, more things stay the same for the Philadelphia 76ers.
I mean, just a dangerous place for them to be in, already relying on McCain to step up like he was great in his rookie season. Then he suffers a season-ending injury. And now all of a sudden, where's the depth here? You have Tyrese Maxey. Are you going to rely on Kyle Lowry? I should say Amazon team member Kyle Lowry, who's now part of the broadcast team.
How is he even going to do that during the season?
I don't know. A little Tom Brady-esque here. I'm not sure exactly how it works out, but listen, it's the team always has so much that they're kind of hinging on. The potential is there, but you're kind of counting on two players specifically in Paul George and Joel Embiid that their health has been a significant issue throughout their respective careers, and you don't know what you can make of those groups. Like there's high potential here, and yet even in the Eastern Conference, it feels like it's wide open. I'm not sure I can count on the 76ers. I want to believe, I want to expect the best of them, but we saw last year. Look, I went on record last year and said that they might be the top team out of the Eastern Conference, and then everything went really south, and they were the exact opposite of a contending team.
Yeah, they're one of the biggest boomer bust teams, I think, in the league. And, it always comes down to kind of hinging on your best player, your star player. Joel Embiid 2 years ago was the MVP of the league, 3 years ago, I forget whatever the number is, and looked incredible, right? And at times he has put up just incredible runs for the Philadelphia 76ers. But does that all matter if he can't stay healthy and be out there on the court and he's on, the wrong side of 30 for what you want, even if it's closer to 30 than 40? That's what worries me. It's just, can you rely on Joel Embiid? And if Joel Embiid is playing, Tyrese Maxey, Paul George, Jared McCain, all of that is like kind of just details that I'm less concerned about. Embiid, I think, is that impactful of a player. But the question is he actually going to be healthy? And Tom Ziller of Good Morning It's Basketball in his newsletter really laid this case out with the 76ers today, right? It's just, if Jared McCain can look anything like he did as a rookie before tearing his meniscus, except he's already going to miss some time here, right? What are you going to get out of VJ Edgecombe, the rookie? Does Andre Drummond have anything left in the tank? They still need to figure out the Quentin Grimes situation. I mean, he'll be back with them next year, but also maybe just on a qualifying offer, and that throws things into the mix. Like, there's a lot of volatile elements there, but as you said, like there's a path to being a true contender, particularly in the Eastern Conference.
Where do you rank them? Like, I'm curious because I think I still have them as definitely a playoff team. We know what their floor is. They could be disastrously bad. We saw that last year. If everything breaks right for this group, what's their ceiling in your opinion?
Yeah, that's like they're a top 4 seed if everything breaks right. I think you kind of have to put them in that mix. I think, you have Cleveland, you have New York that feel like the top in there. You've got Milwaukee too, but I think their ceiling is higher than a team like Detroit would be just because of Embiid. Now,
Yes.
I also think their floor is way lower than the floor of any of those other teams, right? That's why like I don't know. Like they could, if you told me at the end of next season they finished first, I'd believe you. And if you also told me they were 15th, I'd be like, yeah, they always get injured and that's how it goes.
Yeah, that's a pretty high variance for an NBA team there, first or 15th. So yeah, I think they might even be. They could even be the better team, the best team in the Eastern Conference. I know what we saw from Cleveland last year, although I think there are legitimate questions about whether or not they can replicate that next season. Already some injury concerns for the Cavaliers too. But if you get the best possible season at Joel Embiid, again, given his MVP level status, Paul George becomes that 3-and-D type player that we know he can be when he was fantastic for the Clippers just a couple seasons ago. If you get everything you can out of Maxey, if McCain returns to full strength, you get Edgecombe to be the player that a lot of people thought he might be out of college. That's a really good team. I would not be surprised if they're better than Cleveland. I mean, it could be better than Cleveland.
I mean, look, McCain last year, this is why the injury kind of is so, it just sucks, right? Missing the start of the year. He was really good. 15.3 points per game, almost 6 3-point attempts per game, shooting 38%. As a rookie, like those are incredible numbers and kind of exactly what that Philadelphia team needs. If Maxey kind of keeps on his ascent, it allows Paul George to shift into like the third guy on the team and take some of that pressure off of him, which I think is beneficial to him. It's just, they're terrifying to kind of bank on this squad because of the injuries. And also last year was just, it was a dumpster fire. It just all was an absolute mess for the high hopes that we had. But, I think most of us, I don't know where you had him. I think I probably had him as top 4 in the East last year going into the season, before all the injuries and everything just kind of decimated them.
I thought they were going to win it all. I really thought they were going to win the Eastern Conference. I didn't think they were going to be good enough to beat any team out the West, but I thought I had Oklahoma City versus Philadelphia in the finals. That was my preseason prediction.
Okay. So you still got to feel kind of good about them going into this year then. Like also Nick Nurse is a good coach, a title winning coach. Like we haven't even mentioned him at all. Daryl Morey's one of the more aggressive front office people in the league that has proven to at least build like contenders and take the right kind of chances. There's a lot to like there, if they stay healthy.
You can't make a prediction about them, right? Like
no, it's too dangerous.
Yeah. If for anybody willing to place a little wager here and there, Philadelphia is the team that you can win big or you can lose everything. So that's where you kind of want to be when it comes to taking a risk. Philadelphia is the best team for it, but I'm sure there are some other teams around the league that might be risky predictions too.
Yeah. So look, they're one of the biggest what if teams, I think, but let's look at a couple other just what ifs in general this season. Cause I've got a list of some, I'm sure you've got some. Let's look at those things that like could swing the season either way. That's coming up here next in today's episode of Locked On NBA Game Night. Today's episode of Locked On NBA Game Night is brought to you by FanDuel. The NFL season is here, and FanDuel is making sure you're ready for kickoff with a can't-miss offer. And right now, new customers can bet just $5, and if your bet wins, you're going to get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. I love FanDuel because it fits however you like to bet. You want the player props? They have them. A same-game parlay for a bigger payout? No problem. You missed the start of the game? They've got live in-game action. So if you see trends are going a certain way, use that knowledge. Look, the Zion Williamson MVP odds, we're probably about to talk about him here. He looks incredible. You might want to jump on those already before they get even worse or better, depending on which way you're looking at it. And FanDuel has been with Locked On for a long time. And right now, new customers can bet just $5. And if it wins, you're going to get $300 in bonus bets to use across the app. That's probably the best deal I think I've ever seen from FanDuel here. So just go to FanDuel.com, download the FanDuel app, and get started. That's FanDuel.com to place your first $5 bet. And if it wins, you're going to get $300 in bonus bets. And thank you for making a Locked On NBA Game Night your first listen today and every day. The season is coming. Preseason's almost here. It starts literally next week here on Locked On NBA Game Night, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We are going to be covering every single game played. Preseason, regular season, NBA Cup, postseason. It's all covered here 7 days a week. So make sure you subscribe wherever you get your podcast and join us on YouTube as well. For your second listen, go listen to Locked On Sixers, especially with that Jared McCain injury. I'm curious what their take is going to be this season and looking at that team going forward. All right, David, we just talked about the big what ifs with the Philadelphia 76ers here, but let's look at some other what ifs around the association right now. I've got a list of a couple, whether it's injuries or just things that could happen. You ready for some of these?
Absolutely. Let me hear them.
All right, so I talked about this earlier in the week because I was at Pelicans Media Day. What if Zion Williamson's actually healthy this season? Stays healthy for, let's call it 75 games. What are you thinking?
I don't know. We talked about this in a recent episode. No, seriously, it feels like the same kind of high level variance. Like that team is much better than you expect if everything again breaks right. And it does. I don't want to cop out by saying, well, so much of it hinges on Zion, but he is the engine. He is the driving force behind that Pelicans team, as you well know. And without him, it's a mess of a team without much structure. They can be such a good team when he's at his best, when he's fully healthy. I mean, honestly, I have to defer to you on this. Like, you look at Zion and you look at everything that you've seen with him over the course of his career. Like, how confident do you feel moving forward? Like, obviously, he's in great shape. We've seen the photos. Did you see him today? Was it the Pelicans Media Day? Today, so
yeah,
okay. So
I was there. Like he looks good. I'll say this with him. Like, this is the first time I've really seen him in that kind of shape going into this season. He usually gets there during the year, but to start the year seems rather important to me. So I'm kind of hyped up about him. But I think it's like you said, right? They could finish in the. I wouldn't put him top 4 in the West, even with a healthy Zion, but like 5th potentially or 15th. There's a big range there. But if he's healthy, you feel much better about the Pelicans, who most people are picking to finish 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th in the Western Conference, I think.
Yeah,
but
that seems a little unfair too, though. Like, I mean, okay, their floor is there, but again, you could make that argument against any team. If you lose X superstar player, your team's not going to be very good, right? So, but do you think that they have the potential to be that bad?
If he's not playing, maybe, because everything kind of falls apart when he's such a focal point of the offense, and you don't have a ton of other guys that can kind of create for themselves. Trey Murphy will take a leap this year, I think, but I wouldn't call him necessarily like a number one offensive guy, because is he actually creating for himself? Jordan Poole can do it, but if Jordan Poole's your number one guy with the highest usage rate, like, yeah, you're probably not going to be an incredible team, as much as I like Jordan Poole. So again, kind of boomer bust there. Let me throw a different one at you. What if?
All right.
Do you have one?
I do.
Oh yeah, go ahead.
No, all right. No, I was wondering, but can DeAndre Ayton be the necessary threat that helps offset the Luka Doncic, LeBron James, and the Los Angeles Lakers? Because to me, that's like the biggest question mark about a team that's already kind of hinging on a pairing between two stars that, from what we hear, might not necessarily work as well as you might think it could. LeBron, obviously, a player still deteriorating towards the end of his career, but still very impactful. Luka, perhaps, as Zion Williamson is, entering into another phase here where he could be healthy and be just the best version of himself. We saw what an incredible run he had in Eurobasket. And yet, despite that star power on the Lakers roster, you're kind of looking at DeAndre Ayton, and there's a heightened level of importance to what his impact can be with this team that I think their season almost hinges specifically on Ayton's production.
I would not want my season to hinge on DeAndre Ayton, is the way I think I would put that. That sounds terrifying to me. I always look at those type of players that, when they kind of have this just stuff around them, whatever it is, they get traded and they're always on their best behavior the first season there. And then they kind of revert back to who they are. We've kind of seen this a little bit with Kyrie and some other players at times. So I think he'll be fine this year. I don't know if he's the piece that elevates them to a title winning team. I think them getting a starting center was really important, or a much better starting center than what they had. But also, I wonder how this is going to go in the future. Year 2 of DeAndre Ayton's what worries me more than year 1.
Yeah, well, then you've got a very limited window. Who knows how long LeBron James will be available? But make the most you can with Ayton on the roster, because I think that he certainly raises their ceilings. I mean, he can be the
Oh yeah.
perfect pairing with Doncic, so it could work out well. But again, you wonder. I mean, look, he wasn't asked to do much for a Portland team that was clearly rebuilding. That's fine, whatever. In Phoenix, you had Chris Paul there to kind of help him in his role, and it did help him. He was effective on the way to the NBA Finals during their run there. But you wonder, can LeBron be the kind of mentor leader that gets the best out of Ayton and teaches him whether or not he understands what it means to be on a title contending team, where you're every day, it's about championship habits. It's about creating a culture, about buying into everything the team is doing and not looking necessarily for your own numbers to be boosted.
Yeah, I think that's where I look at him, and it's like, is he just going to be like, I want mine here, or something along those lines? And that type of situation makes me a little bit nervous, I think. Let me throw this one at you. Let's stay in Los Angeles. What if the NBA comes down hard on the Clippers over the Kawhi Leonard scandal?
By hard, do you mean revoking his contract and making him a free agent?
So let's
say
it somehow leaks that like after the season, they're going to probably void his contract. But also, like, if you start to hear rumblings of like, oh, they're going to dock him as many draft picks as they possibly can, like basically throw as much of the book at them as they can.
But that would be after the season. So it wouldn't necessarily be any kind of impact on. Okay. Yeah. So to me, I can they void his contract prior to the season, or is that too late?
I don't know. Good question, right? Like, I don't know. We're playing a hypothetical game here. Let's say they void it next week.
Yeah, I mean, that I think all kind of offsets everything, because you already aren't really necessarily banking on Kawhi to be available and healthy, because we've seen what happens with injury. But that kind of takes a lot of the wind out of your sails to lose your star player like that, and to know that there's a dark cloud hanging over the franchise because other penalties are likely to come down the path. Or, maybe they even announce them at the same time. They say, we're voiding his contract. It's null and void. And we're also going to dock the team X amount of money, X number of draft picks. That kind of just puts a whole stink on everything. Like media day, as you said, just this great opportunity. There are 30 teams out there that all believe they're contenders on media day. That's just the way it works out. And then instead, you're kind of wondering, what's going to happen next? Where are we really as a team, knowing we can't count on Kawhi because he's not going to be on here, and we don't know what's going to happen down the road. So that could be potentially disastrous for a group like the Los Angeles, who I think exceeded expectations last year. And I looked at what they had building this season, and I thought they were going to be really, really good. I'd have them as a top 3 team in the Western Conference.
They're well coached. They have really great role players there in certain guys. I also wonder, if say in December it starts to leak, like comes out that the league will really do something big here, shouldn't they trade away basically every draft pick that they can try and trade away and just bolster the roster and almost like get ahead of it in a sense? I don't know if they can actually do that, or if the league would let them throw some of those trades in. But if they think it's going to happen, get rid of those picks and make it even like more complicated for the league to sort this out.
Yeah, this is like running to the shredder as you're trying to get rid of documents that show how guilty you are. We're trading away the picks before you can take them, baby. So
exactly.
Wonderful.
I wonder what that would do to the league. Like that would be pretty funny at the very least.
Yeah, for a team that's already guilty of circumventing the salary cap, now they're circumventing the penalties as well. Why not? Let's do it. Let's go for it.
You got any more here?
No. I think that's a pretty good summary there.
All right, I got 2 more. I'll throw. Okay. I could probably do this for like days. This one's probably more relevant to you too. What if Giannis requests a trade in the middle of the season?
Jake, what are you doing here? I don't want to see how many times we get the question from Heat fans saying, is Giannis coming to Miami? It's like, no, I don't know. I don't know anything. If he requests a trade midseason, well, I think
what's it do for like the whole league, certain teams, all that?
Yeah, I mean, it changes everything. Again, for an Eastern Conference, it feels wide open. And Milwaukee is not necessarily a bad team. I'm not as high on them or bullish about their chances as others might be, but I think that completely changes everything, because now you have, I can't imagine the number of teams. I would say at least 10 to 15 teams that actually believe they might be in a hypothetical situation where they could acquire Giannis and want to rebuild around him. It takes a certain kind of team to be able to accept that, and whether or not Milwaukee accepts that kind of offer is a whole other question. That would change everything. But then again, we saw that last year though when they traded Luka Doncic. Now, I know Dallas clearly not a contender. The Lakers may have viewed themselves as such, even though I don't necessarily agree with it. But we've seen what happens when a superstar gets traded in the midseason and when nobody expects it and sees it coming. I don't know that necessarily tilted the balance of power the way you might have expected it to. So I don't know. I would expect it would be something similar in the Eastern Conference where it's like, well, we don't know what's going to happen with whatever team that acquires him, or now with the Bucks, clearly they're going to be rebuilding for a next phase here without Giannis. But it would be fun to watch. Like, I mean, not for Bucks fans, clearly, but I think it would be interesting to see what potential machinations teams would get into or kind of talk themselves into to acquire a player like Giannis.
You would imagine that would be an insane trade, right? We saw what the 6-7 team deal recently to try and get all that done. And it's more just like if you kind of like the minutia, that's pretty cool to you. It feels like something like a Giannis trade would have to involve like 4 or 5 teams to figure out how to make all of the pieces work and be one of those like super complicated type of things, particularly in the second apron area. Really just kind of interesting, like collective bargaining agreement, CBA cap work that would need to go into that. But I'm a nerd with that stuff. Like,
no. The transactions are a lot. There are fans that are just the same way. That they're fans of the transactions more than almost the game itself. And I think to see a trade kind of manifest like that would be fascinating because it's a little bit about getting every team a little bit of what they want in order to be involved and have this actually come to fruition. And there are teams that would be willing to do it because they'd be able to take on either an extra salary if they're trying to clear something, or maybe an extra couple of picks in order to help grease the wheels a little bit. Always fascinating to see something like this of this scale play out.
Yeah, so I've got one more I'm going to throw at you in the next segment that's kind of funny. And then let's talk about JJ Redick getting a contract extension after 1 year. That's coming up here next in today's episode of Locked On NBA Game Night. Today's episode of Locked On NBA Game Night is brought to you by Skims. When I found out Skims was making underwear for men, I was really interested because I've heard so many great things about their quality for friends and family. So I wanted to give it a try, and I'm going to tell you, it lives up to the hype. I've always had issues with underwear, whether you're looking for fit, comfort, style, you don't want them riding up. I travel a lot on planes. It needs to be breathable. Skims is figured it out, basically. Their men's line offers something for everyone, from boxer briefs to classic briefs, all designed with the perfect balance of comfort and style. I love the stretch 5-inch boxer brief. I work out daily. I don't like wearing that athletic style underwear, particularly when you go from like the gym to a meeting or something along those lines. I don't want to feel like I'm wearing basketball shorts under a suit or something along those lines. But the stretch boxer brief here, it feels great. It gives you all the movement you need while working out, while just making it feel like you're wearing normal things during the rest of the day here. So shop Skims Men's at skims.com. Let them know we sent you. After you place your order, select podcasts in the survey and select Locked On NBA in the drop-down menu that follows over at skims.com. And thank you for making a Locked On NBA Game Night your first listen today and every day. We are here 7 days a week covering everything you want to know about the association. So please subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Join us on YouTube as well. Put your NBA what ifs in the comments down below on YouTube for your second listen. It's fantasy draft season, so go make sure Josh Lloyd, the GOAT, and Locked On Fantasy Basketball is your second listen today. All right, we were just playing the what if game, David. I've got one more for you. This one's a little personal and not in a way that you're going to think here. Okay. A couple of years ago, before the NBA Finals, I forget which one. It's been like 3 or 4 years. I put out a joke right before the NBA Finals. Everyone's on Twitter being like, here's my finals prediction. And I think I put out a joke of like, my NBA Finals prediction is you won't see the Knicks there anytime soon. And oh boy, was I the main character on Knicks Twitter that day, which is not a place anyone wants to be. What's going to happen to me? What if the Knicks win a title? They're going to be good this year.
Are you a believer? Look, I think you see the Eastern Conference again wide open. I don't know. I think they're maybe the second best team in the Eastern Conference. That's fair, but I think you can make a case that maybe they won't reach it. I'm not necessarily bullish on their coaching replacement either. I just don't think that Mike Brown is necessarily an improvement over Tom Thibodeau.
It's going to be curious, right? Like, I think they're obviously a very, very good team making it to the Eastern Conference Finals last year before losing. The East is more wide open. Like, seeing them in the finals is very realistic to me. They're figuring out what they're going to do with their starting lineup. So what I like is they have flexibility, whether you go with Josh Hart or Mitchell Robinson, play him at center, move Cat to the 4. I like having that flexibility here, I think, with it. Mike Brown tends to have a good early start with where he's been. Maybe he's not better than Thibodeau overall, but I feel like you get a bump in year one of him for sure. Look at what he did with the Sacramento Kings. That was some pretty impressive work for a franchise that just doesn't have that track record. They're interesting to me. I don't know if they'll actually win it all. Like, I don't see them beating the Thunder. I don't really see anyone beating the Thunder, but that's a team that, I don't know. It just depends on what ends up happening with them, right?
Yeah. So what happens if they win the title? Well, I mean, we'll
I'm
never
gonna get
hear
it
the end
bad.
of it. Oh,
No.
yeah, you'll get it bad. Nobody will hear the end of it. I mean, when they had the potential last year and everybody thought they were going to be the best team in the East, or at least New York fans thought they were going to be the best team in the East. Like, I mean, you just saw on social media, you saw fans outside the arena. It's a crazy environment. It just feels like they're larger than life. And I've always hated that axiom of like, oh, when the Knicks are good, the league is good, or something along those lines. Like, the league is better when the Knicks are actually a good team. It's like, nobody cares. Nobody outside of New York cares whether the Knicks are good or not. It doesn't really matter. The league's been just fine making their billions and billions of dollars every year, whether or not the Knicks sucked or not. So I don't think it really makes that much of a difference.
And they sucked far more than they've been good over the past 20 years. We should put that out there too. But also, let's change the subject so that our mentions aren't going to be as bad here. Final thing I got for you. Rob Pelinka, in a media availability with JJ Redick, announced that Redick has received an extension after 1 year. He had 3 more years left on this. So I don't know how long the extension is for, or if this was just simply to give Redick a raise of some sort. Is this anything?
It's unnecessary is what it is.
Yeah.
It's anything. It's like, what are you doing here? Like, this is exactly the kind of decision that you regret like 2 years later if he loses control. Like, we don't know. I mean, I like JJ. I like the hire a lot. I think he was well prepared. I think he's like exactly the kind of personality that embraces coaching and does all the little minutia to help a team get better and to build something, etc. But yeah, a lot of it depends on, well, guess what? Any team with Luka Doncic is bound to be pretty good. So he's gonna do well in that regard. He's probably gonna have a winning team, but he might not necessarily be the best coach to take him over the hump, down the road. You never know what this team is going to look like in a couple of years without LeBron in the roster if he decides to retire when he moves on. So it feels a little premature and unnecessary to just say, you know what, we're going to throw more money at him. But hey, that's never been a problem for the Lakers anyway. They're happy to give out cash.
I guess for them it doesn't really matter, but largely I agree with you. They were the 3rd seed, 50 wins, but they could have been the 5th seed. They were tied with a couple of other teams there for that. You saw Redick at times look like a rookie head coach with some of the rotation decisions and things like that, which maybe means there's room for growth there. Coaches improve and grow just like players do, but also like he has 3 more years. Like, why are you rushing to do this unless they feel a certain way about when LeBron's going to leave or what that's going to look like?
Yeah, but you never know. Like, the league changes almost overnight. Look at the Lakers roster; it changed overnight when they finished that deal. And I know it takes some time for something like that of that magnitude to be finalized, but you never know. Like, even JJ's decision to enter coaching felt like out of nowhere. It just all of a sudden he's being announced as the Lakers head coach, and I don't think a lot of people saw that coming necessarily. And maybe he's prone to whimsy every once in a while, although he doesn't strike me as that type, but you never know. Could he just decide in 2 years, you know what, I'm burnt out. I tried it. I excelled at it. I did fine. Now I'm out. It's like, well, why give him the extension in the first place? I don't know. It just feels like the kind of move that is being done just for the sake of getting it over with and totally unnecessary.
Well, also, what if he has 3 more years left? You extend him 2 years, so he's got 5 years left on the deal. Like, I don't think giving him a 10-year contract, an 8-year contract, a 7-year contract seems very strange to me. And like, why? That just means you're gonna have to pay him again sooner or something like that. I don't know. Like, even though it runs longer, whole situation's kind of weird. Let us know what you think in the comments down below on YouTube. And that's going to do it for this episode of Locked On NBA Game Night. We're soon going to be talking about actual games, and I am excited about that. So get ready for it all. Make sure you subscribe wherever you get your podcasts. Join us on YouTube as well. On this Friday, back to Wednesdays, I'm your co-host, Jake Madison, at NOLA Jake on Twitter, and the host of the Locked On Pelicans podcast. Say your name.
Oh,
yeah, I know. We don't have the chemistry of doing this together.
And I'm David Ramil, the host of Locked On Heat. Make sure to stay tuned for that.
Yeah, we'll get some more practice in here throughout the season. We appreciate y'all listening and see y'all next time.